Hello and welcome to the Stitch Together podcast, episode 25. The date is Friday the 20th of November 2015 and it's good to be here. I'm going to state for the record, don't know how the lighting is going to go for this. I can look on my screen and the playback and it seems a little bit yellowy, but sometimes it gets corrected when I upload it. So it's always a bit hit and miss this time of year because the natural light isn't great. I'm contemplating getting some lamps, but it's just going to be one more thing to set up with podcasting, which is going to make it a little less likely that I'm going to podcast. So I don't know. Other podcasters, in winter, do you use other lighting sources other than natural light? I'd be really interested to hear what you might think of doing that and how much of an extra faff it is as well. Because you can get reasonably priced kits, but it's just more stuff that needs setting up before a podcast. So I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. Let me know what you think about the lighting. I don't know how it's going to go until I upload it, and that's going to be in several hours time. So we'll see how it plays out anyway. Anyway, it's really good to be here. It's a nice sunny day here in Leicestershire. It's got that lovely golden light this time of year. I love that kind of golden light you get when the sky is really clear and blue. It's definitely one of my favourite times of year, is this kind of autumn before it gets really cold and wet and nasty. Mind you, we had some storms earlier in the week, and people in other countries other than the UK are going to laugh. We actually named one of our storms. We've started to name storms in the UK. We don't have hurricanes, we don't have typhoon. I mean, I think we once had a tornado, once. But we don't have those great big severe storms that you get in other places. And when it gets a bit blowy, it's like, oh, the world is going to end. It's like, no, it's not. A few fence panels need replacing. Maybe an odd loose tile on the roof. But yeah, I think it was called Storm Barney. It's the second one we've had this year, so it's Storm Barney. I think they were saying it was going to get to 85 miles an hour. I think that's what they said it was. Yeah, it's not quite like you get in the States, for instance. Kind of ashamed about it. But it was quite blowy and it was quite unsettling for the cat, I think, more than anything. But yeah, it's been a bit up and down this week, really, I suppose. It's also been a bit unsettling because my other half's been away, and he's been away in Paris this week. So we didn't know if he was going to be able to go or not because he went on Sunday. And yeah, it was a real shock about the situation in Paris. And because it's a city we know, we've both spent time there, and we love the city. It's a beautiful city, and it's a beautiful city to walk around. So you feel like you know it, and it's kind of part of your life. And when something bad happens somewhere that you feel familiar with, it hurts you more. And I think that's why there's been such a hue and cry on Facebook and other social media about how awful it is. And I feel myself very conflicted about it because I know there are really, really awful things happening all over the world, and just as horrible, if not more horrible, and it makes me sad that it's because it happened in Paris there's been a big outcry about it. So I'm very conflicted about it, and it's heartrending when anything like that happens, and my heart goes out to the people it affected and their friends and their families, and I hope there's healing very soon. And I feel the same way about all the other places in the world where these awful, awful things happen. And yeah, it's been quite unsettling having my other half in Paris this week, because it's that added level of nagging at the back of my head. I'm sure everything in Paris has been absolutely fine because there's been a high level of alert and there's been much more awareness of what's going on. So I'm sure there's been no risk at all to him, but it's still scares you a little bit, doesn't it? I'm not the only one who feels this way. Not, am I? So yeah, awful, awful thing. this is a knitting podcast. It's not a politics podcast, and I am sorry for bringing everybody down, but it is something that affects me, and it's something that affects a lot of people, so I felt the need to say something. So anyway, moving swiftly on to much more pleasant things, stuff and things. We have a couple of things to talk about this week. The first thing is I've not heard from the winner of the Luli project bag contest. The winner of that was Streepy. I've not heard from her. So Streepy, if you watched this episode but you didn't watch last episode, get in touch. Give me your mailing address and I'll send you the project bag from the Luli giveaway. I don't know what to do if I don't hear from winners. I've never had this situation where I've not heard back from them when I've announced it on the podcast. I know some podcasters just say, well, if you don't listen, you don't get it. It goes back in the pot for future reference. And I don't know. I'm conflicted. I'm sort of umming and ahhing about what to do about that. And again, I would welcome feedback about that. What do you think? Is it something that you think I should make the effort and reach out to the winners of contests, or should I wait until they hear on the podcast? Answers on a postcard, please. The other contest was for the Esther Bell shawl pattern, which was a new design by Emily of the Fibre Town podcast. And the shawl pattern, which I pulled up and now can no longer find. So I was going, I'm going to show this off. It's really pretty. There it is. Come on. That's a good, there we go. It's quite a good picture of how it looks. It's a very interesting construction. And I was really touched by the entries to this because I asked for people to let me know about other inspiring women and role models that you'd had in your lives, and there were some really beautiful entries into that contest, and I got choked up a couple of times. And I really recommend you go and have a look at that thread, because there are some amazing stories about some incredible women, and it's sort of, these are not big historical people. They're not incredible business people who have impact on thousands of people in their employ. These are people who made a massive impact every day to the people around them, and that impact will carry on throughout the generations. And I think that's a really important thing to think about, is that you don't have to be important in the eyes of the world. You can be important in the eyes of your family and your future generations of your family, and that is just as important as having a business or making a profit or being a lecturer. They're just as important things, and sometimes looking at those things in that way, it just really sort of gets you in the heart. So I recommend looking at it if you want a little weep, shall we say. So without further ado, the winner of that gorgeous pattern was, you're never going to believe this, it's Jamie Walcott. She's won recently as well. Congratulations, Jamie. I do assure everyone else it is completely random, and I pull it up on the random.org, and I do take a snap of it with my camera off the screen, so it's for me to reference. And yeah, it was Jamie. So congratulations, Jamie. Get in touch, and then I'll put Emily in touch with you and she can send you the pattern. So congratulations, and congratulations, Emily. That's a really lovely pattern. I'm sure you'll have lots of success with it. So where do we go from here? Now we have done, my iPad's on a go slow. It's really annoying me. The next thing in Stuff and Things is kind of an FO as well. I have finally released the pattern for the boat trip cowl, which I'm modelling here. This yarn is from Countess Ablaze, and it is Lord Kitchener 4-ply. and it's a one-of-a-kind colourway, so you can't get it again, sadly, but you can get the base, and I really, really like this base. It's 55% BFL and 45% silk. It's a beautiful, beautiful base, and it keeps you really warm, and it's got a really nice drape as well. So I highly recommend this yarn. And the this is the small size, which is done on smaller needles. And the Boat Trip cowl has been released at, I think I released it at the £3.25 is the base price, and VAT if you're in Europe is on top of that, so it depends on what your VAT price percentage is. But if you are in the US and other places in the world outside Europe, you don't have to pay VAT, so it'll show up on the page if you pull it up. I can't tell you what the prices are for everyone else, but as a way to apologise to everyone for keeping you dangling for so long, there is a voucher, a coupon code, which is Boat Trip, all one word, BOATTRIP. And if you put that in on the checkout page, it'll come up, and at the bottom on the left hand side of that checkout, the basket I suppose, is a little box which says coupon code, and you enter Boat Trip in there and you will get the £1 discount on that. So give that a go and you'll get £1 off, and that lasts until the 30th of November, the end of the day on 30th of November. Because it's not something I've announced generally. I've announced it on social media, and I've announced it here, and I've announced it in the Ravelry thread, but I've not announced it anywhere else. This is just for you guys who have supported me and hung around and sort of poked me every now and again and say, when's that pattern coming out? I kind of like it. So yeah, thank you those people who've gently prodded me without nagging. It's greatly appreciated. And I'm really pleased to have finally got it out, and it's been nice the last couple of weeks because it's been the perfect weather for wearing something like this around my neck, and it's just been nice having something a little bit warm but not too heavy, and it's been nice. I'm pretty proud of this pattern. It's very wearable, and it's a great way of using up variegated yarn. I mean, the other version, the other sample I made was this one, which is that's the large size, done on a much larger scale needle, and this is Sieda Quirlig by Siedegata. And it's a Swiss company, and again this is a one-of-a-kind colourway, and I got the yarn from the Golden Skein. It's one of their club colours, and I do believe there are a few skeins left. So if you go over to the Golden Skein and look for, I think it's the butterfly one, which is spring 2015, you should still be able to get a skein of this, and it's beautiful, beautiful pure silk yarn in a 4-ply, and I love wearing this. And this is, let me just show you. This is a bigger, much bigger shawl, cowl, you know what I mean. And this sort of covers more of your shoulders and the back of your neck and keeps you a bit warmer because it's bigger. So I'm like I say, I'm really pleased with how this turned out, and I'm really grateful to all my testers. You were brilliant, and thank you for everyone's support. So, as I said, that was kind of a done and dusted as well, because it was kind of finishing a pattern off. Tenuous, I know, but I feel like it counts. So, in other done and dusted, first off, I have another Christmas gift, and it's Barley Hat by Tin Can Knits, and it's a big barley hat, and it's in Cascade 220 Superwash, and it's in the navy as the colourway. And I made one of these hats in this yarn and colourway last year for my little nephew, and I thought, well, I'll make a matching one for his dad. Thought it might be cute. I blocked this on a balloon because what I like to do with hats is I like to block out the crown so it's nice and flat and all the stitches line up nicely. But what I don't like to do is pull out the ribbing at the bottom. So if you use a balloon, it's tapered at the bottom, so it doesn't stretch out the ribbing too much, and it just gives it enough to sort of make it nicely blocked. So that's Tin Can Knits Barley Hat, and if you've not seen a Barley Hat on another podcast, this is your first podcast because everyone makes this, because it's a free pattern and it's a really, really good pattern and it's really wearable. So that's in the large size, which is why I'm not putting on my head. But that's another Christmas gift ticked off. And another Christmas gift, it's just a little additional one that I've done for my mum, because I'm sort of doing a big present joint with my brother, but I want to give her something that I've made as well. So I made, oh, the light's gone weird. These are grandmother's favourite, and it's a washcloth in peaches and cream in the eggshell colourway. It's a really nice sort of cream, and it's nice and sturdy and robust. And I made some washcloths for her a few years ago, and she absolutely loves them. So I try and give her them at either Christmas or her birthday every year, just to replace the ones that she's worn out. So there's 3 there. And I thought what I would do is, to make it a bit more special, I'd send some soap. Now, my mum's skin is really sensitive and she's allergic to lanolin. So I went looking on Etsy for a store that did lanolin-free things. And I found this Etsy store, and it's Corinne T Holistic. But she also has a website, which is corintaylor.co.uk. Let's see if I can, there we go. corintaylor.co.uk. And this is vegan soap, and it's organic, and it's unfragranced and gentle. And I got some for myself, and I've had real problems recently with very itchy, dry hands. And I've noticed recently I've been suffering from sensitive skin. So I've been trying my own bar of this, and it's really helped. My hands aren't itchy anymore. So I think it was that I was having a sensitivity to the stuff that was in my normal soap. So I also got the moisturised one, because it's coming into winter. And that has got organic shea butter, organic avocado oil, organic pink French clay, and organic lavender essential oil. And it smells delicious. So I've got 2 of the same for me. And like I say, I've tried the sensitive one, but I've not tried the moisturised yet. But yeah, I highly recommend it. It's lovely stuff. So I hope she'll like that present. And I also hope she's not watching this. So I've been going great guns on the present front. And this little guy I'm really, really pleased with. Isn't he cute? I'm really, really pleased with him. He's yeah, he's designed to sort of sit like that. He's a bit skew because I'm holding him up. Yeah, he's designed to sort of sit like that. And I've used 12mm safety eyes. And the yarn I used is Sirdar Shaggy Scarf, and it's designed to sort of be knit on really big needles and very quickly make a scarf. So it's kind of like fun fur, but it's much more cottony in feel. It's not sort of sparkly or shiny or anything. It's nice and warm feeling, and it's very cottony in feel. And I looked at it and thought, you know what, that would make a great little critter or monster or something. And I'm really, really pleased how it's turned out. Let's see if I can. Trying to show you what it's like close up, but that's a bit better. So it's got like several different colours through it. So I'm going to be tempted to pick up some more of this stuff if I see it again. I don't know if I will, because I got it a couple of years ago. And I used Hayfield Bonus Chunky for the cream, and then I sort of knit this little panel and sewed it on, and before I stuffed the body I poked the eyes through, right through into the body, so it's secured through this and inside. And because it's sort of this furry, it gives the face a bit of a 3D effect, because it's sort of poofed out underneath. And then I sewed a little smile on. Little subtle smile. So this is a much friendlier monster than I usually do, with bangs and stuff. So I'm really pleased with this guy. Just sort of made him up as I went along, as I usually do these days. Sort of started the body with a Judy's Magic cast on, I did the same with the feet and with the arms. And then basically just sort of knit a pocket, stuffed it, did a 3 needle bind off on the top because you just can't see it, you can't really feel it at all through all the fluff. Then added the base, did the Judy's Magic cast on for the feet, and sort of did some increases and knit for a while, and then did some decreases, and then stuffed it and sewed it on. Did the same with the arms, but on a smaller basis. But basically, really happy with this guy. I have made quite a lot of monsters and critters over the years, and most of the information I sort of use to make things up I got from Rebecca Danger's monsters book. I'll put a link in the show notes, and also from a lot of Fresh Stitches crochet patterns. I know it's not crochet, it's knitting, but the actual concept of how things are shaped and attached, I learned a lot of that from the crochet patterns that I did. So a lot of that information is kind of interchangeable. If you crochet and you knit, you can use the information from both sort of sides to create something different and unique. So that's where I get that's where my backstory of monster making is, and that's the information I draw on when I'm making stuff. So I'm really pleased with that. That's another tick off the Christmas gift list. I'm feeling quite positive this year. I might actually get everything done without stressing myself out. So what else have I finished? I have finished some spinning. Excuse the rustling, I forgot to get them out. And this is, let me get a, there we go, that's close to the colour. This is Fondant Fibre, and it was her fuzzlings, which are like her sort of little bats that she has, and the sort of the colourway name of the one she does is Gone West, and she generally has these in stock in her shop. And I thought it was going to be really, really, really loud pink, and it's not. It's been really softened by the green. I'm really pleased with how it came out. Let me just open it up and show you. Let me see if I can get a bit closer without getting dark. That's the trouble, you see, the camera gets in the way and blocks the light. But yeah, really, really pleased with it. I did it as a semi-worsted, which is when it's a woolen prep, but you spin it sort of short forward draw. Not that I think that way on a spindle, because it's not a forward draw, because it's sort of vertical, horizontal. It's hard to explain. But basically it means that you get, it's smoother than if you do long draw and make it woolen spun and it's all fluffy. So it's smoother, but you've still got a lot of poof from the preparation in it. So it gives it a nice sort of round, bouncy feel to it. And I spun it as a 3-ply. And I got 178 meters of a DK. It's a light DK, I think. But yeah, I'm really, really pleased with that. It's come out great. And I actually think what it would make would be a great critter for a little girl. So I shall think about that. But I also, it's got sparkle in it as well. And I think my niece would really like it. Something made out of this. I think she'd go gaga over it. I don't know why I do this on air. I think it's just habit, having a loose skein. You just sort of want to tidy it up before you cast it aside. But yeah, really pleased with that. Thank you, Deb. Wonderful preparation as always. And I think that is it for done and dusted. Doesn't feel like a lot given how much time has passed, but the next thing I show you will explain why. It's actually Nose the Grindstone technically, but some people might consider it a done and dusted. I'm not, because I finished my finished the knitting but haven't blocked it yet. So the stitches are all a bit wonky and it's just uneven and it just needs tidying up, even if it's just washing and lying flat, because it's all in Gorta Stitch. And what I've done is I start in the middle, just doing increases down the middle and at the edges. And then I reached this point, and then I added in 2 more increases, and one increase on either side, and increased in the same way I did the centre panel. And then just kept going with the stripes until I ran out of stripes yarn, and then I added a border in the 3rd colour. And I'm really pleased with how the colours came out. I think they worked out brilliantly. And the green was the one that really grabbed me, and I wanted that to be the showcase yarn, which is why it's the border, and I think it really makes it pop. But I'm really pleased with how the stripes ended up, because because it's semi-solid, variegated, you get sort of lots of different colours in the stripes. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I think it looks beautiful. And the yarn I used was Posh Yarn Pamela 4-ply, and that's a superwash merino nylon stellina blend, so it's all sparkly. I'm really pleased with how sparkly it's come out. It's really pretty. I've never done a garment in sparkly yarn. It's always been excessive. It's not a garment. I think the only thing I've done in sparkly yarn is socks, because I'm not a very sparkly person. But I think I'll enjoy wearing this because it's kind of earthy colours, and it's got this sort of glimmer in it as well. It makes it a little bit more special. But the reason I wanted to work on this is because it's perfect for this time of year, because it's almost like a raglan cape rather than a shawl, but it means you can just wrap yourself up in it really easily, and it kind of stays put, or it will do when it's all blocked out nicely. And it's just really warm and cozy. It's like a cross between wearing a cardigan and wearing a shawl, and it keeps the back of your neck warm, your upper arms warm, but at the same time it's really easy to have it open and just have it sit. So I'm really pleased about it, but like I say, it does need blocking, and I'll show you the difference when I've blocked it in the next episode. It just looks a little untidy, like that. You see what I mean? It's got this kind of weird thing in the point at the bottom, and it just needs stretching out a little to increase the gauge and make it a bit drapier. So that's what I'm going to do with that. But I'm really pleased with that. It's worked out really well, and that's what I've been spending all my time working on. So it's taken up quite a lot of time. It's a 3 skein project, and I used up pretty much every last scrap. But I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and I think I'll wear it a lot. And hopefully it won't pill as fast as the last one I made. So what have I got in Nose to the Grindstone? Well, I'm kind of focusing on the Christmas gift thing, because I've got to get my presents finished by the end of next week for people up in York. And the last thing I have to do is a little tank top for my nephew. So this is the back. It looks tiny, doesn't it? I'm really washed out. It's a really, really dark plum colour, and I can't make it. That's the colour. I have to hold it right back here to make it not blow out. It's this really dark purpley plum colour. And my nephew's got very similar colouring to me, essentially. He's got much, much whiter hair than I have, but he's got the same sort of skin tone. So he looks good in these sorts of colours. And the yarn is Rico Baby Classic DK, which, light and shininess, Rico Baby Classic DK, and it is 50% acrylic and 50% polyamide, and it's a really, really good stalwart baby yarn. It's one of my favourite baby yarns to use because it feels really sort of cottony, velvety, soft, but it's pretty robust, and the colours are great. Got really strong, vibrant colours, whereas a lot of baby yarns tend to come in pastels, and yeah, that's great when you've got a tiny little baby, but as they get older and sort of develop more of their own skin tone, then I want to be able to put kids in colours that suit them. So I got this yarn initially to use with the crochet blanket that I made for my niece, but it just didn't work with the softer colours. It was just too dark. So I decided to use it for this little tank top that I'm making. So like I say, this is the back. It's got a 3x3 ribbon at the bottom. And I actually started out with a pattern that was an old pattern from a magazine that I'd kept, and it was called Playing Out, and the pattern design was written by Sirdar, which is a spinner here, and the pattern itself was, oh, it's really hard to show you this one. Let me just see if it'll go better that way, be a bit bigger. Just about see. It's got all this texture down the front. It's not working. But essentially, it's a little tank top, ribbon at the bottom, ribbon around the neck, V-neck, and around the sleeves. And when I say tank top, I believe you call it a sweater vest. In the States, we don't call it that here. We call it a tank top, or a sleeveless pullover or sleeveless jumper. And it has this almost like ganzi texture panels up the front. And I started doing that on the tank top, but you just couldn't see it. I was really struggling to read my knitting because I just couldn't see it because it's so dark. And I thought, well, what's the point in spending all that time and effort putting in texture that no one can see? So I decided to pull it back and just do it plain, just do a plain stocking stitch one. And I used all the shaping, all the measurements and the gauge and everything from the Playing Out pattern. And it seems to be working. So like I say, that's just the back, and this is how far I've got on the front. The pattern suggested doing a thumb cast on, but I'm not overly keen on that, so I did a long tail cast on, but I did it on a slightly bigger needle than the one that I was knitting the ribbing in, and I think that's made it nice and neat. You can see, yeah, I think it's nice and neat doing it that way. Whereas I know the designer obviously wanted it to be nice and stretchy, but I just find the thumb cast on a bit sloppy looking. It's not as neat as the long tail cast on. So I started this about 2 days ago, so I think it'll be done in time for the end of next week, because this is the last Christmas knitting I've got to do for all the York people. So that's kind of been getting my focus lately. Now I've got that shawl out the way. The spinning I've been doing, which I haven't touched in about a week, is in a really rattly box. Here. What I have here is 3 spindles. They're not quite evenly matched, but I'm hoping I'll be able to wangle it so I can split it out. It's the spinning, the fibre is from Fondant Fibre. It is her Rolags, and the set name was Lina, L-I-N-A. I'm not sure if it's a repeatable one or not, but it's just lovely stuff. See if I can find, there we go. It's got Shetland, alpaca, camel and silk in it. I mean, it's gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. And I've got originally these 3 spindles to be used to work on a 3-ply, because they're the same size, pretty much the same weight. It's almost identical spinning, so you can just move from one set of fibre to the next without having to wind off and break how you're doing it, and you've got something to compare to when you start the next spindle. And I just find it a lot quicker and easier. And then I will, now this has sat for a while, I will ply off these spindles, because I've got a plying rack from Spanish Peacock, and I can just stack them. It's like a spindle lazy Kate. So I can't decide whether I'm going to try plying off directly off the spindles, or whether I'm going to wind off a plying ball and then spin off the plying ball. I haven't plied directly off the spindles yet. It's a bit nerve-wracking, but the fiber's gorgeous. Such pretty fiber, and it's sort of all natural colours, and it's a lovely sort of soft, matte, warm feeling to it. And yeah, I'm going to do a 3-ply, and we'll see what we end up with, because I've got a feeling this might poof up a bit. But it'll be amazingly soft and warm, whatever it becomes. So that's what I've been spinning. And once all this Christmas stuff is done, I will probably be doing a lot more spinning, because at the moment I'm not doing a whole lot. And I miss it. I do miss it. So I think, is that it for Nose to the Grindstone? Yes, that's all I've got for Nose to the Grindstone. It doesn't seem a lot, because normally I'm actively working on a lot more things, but the shawl took a lot and the Christmas knitting's taken a lot. So moving on to Blast from the Past, which I'm really enjoying doing this section. I find it fascinatingly fun to go and root around stuff and pull it out and sort of think about it and why it's worked or not worked and what I've learned from the project. So this time I have pulled out a woolly wormhead pattern, which is called Quinn, and I knit it in yarn from Baby Longlegs. It is her Radiance Aran base, and I think it's 2 plies of marine wool and 1 ply of superwash wool, which makes it take up this really gives it kind of tweedy look, because the dye takes in a different way. So it's really hard to get it close enough without, I don't know if you can see that properly because the lighting's not great, but it gives the yarn a real tweedy look. It's nice and soft, and I really like the yarn, and the yarn colour was Stingray. And I thought this would be a great hat, and it'd be really useful for me because it would keep my ears warm. And then when I'd finished it, doesn't really fit. It's when I wear it, it just goes. So I've worn it maybe twice. And I also felt really self-conscious wearing a little pixie hat. And I really wish I wasn't, because I love it. I wish I was the sort of person who felt confident enough to wear a little pixie hat, but I'm not, sadly. And it's too small. And I've kind of been umming and ahhing about whether I should give it to a child, because it really is that small, or whether I should unravel the yarn, and because I still have the other part of the skein, it's all balled up and it's kept safely, and I could just knit something else out of it. But this is the second project I've made in this yarn. I made another project and it was too small. I think I need to learn from this. I need to check my gauge, but I don't do it with hats. And this was a bit more tricky because it has these kind of chevrons, which changes the gauge of things. And that's what makes the ear flaps. I mean, it's a great design. I mean, it's so warm. I mean, I love Woolly Wormhead's patterns. She creates great patterns, and the fact is she does it from sort of baby right up to adult in each pattern, and this would be so cute on a little kid. But I really like this yarn. I really like this colour. I think it's a good colour for me, so I will probably rip it out and wear it in a different pattern because I feel self-conscious in a pixie hat, and hopefully I'll have something to show for that after Christmas. So that's my blast from the past, Quinn by Woolly Wormhead in Baby Longlegs Radiance Aran in the Stingray colourway. So hopefully you'll see that yarn again, and it will be in something interesting. I think a cowl would be quite nice, because I've done a few blue hats recently and I've not got anything blue to go around my neck, so maybe a cowl, maybe a blue cowl. I think. Ideas, please. Always welcome in the thread on the Ravelry group. So, plotting, I guess it's all Christmas based. I want to make another monster for my youngest nephew, and I want to make a hat for my eldest nephew because he's now 13. And I've had it on good advice from my other half that he's pretty sure that my very mature for his age 13-year-old nephew would not want a monster. I'm not sure I concur with him, but I'm going with his input because it's his nephew. And he was once a 13-year-old boy and I was not. So it's just an extra criteria to make these decisions. So yeah, I think it's going to be a hat for him. I made him a hat a few years ago and he absolutely loved it. It was before I started making monsters. I mean, he put it on his head and he wore it all day Christmas. And I was like, aren't you really hot in that? And he's like, no, but it's really soft. So he's always been very much interested in the knitting and the texture of it and the colours of it. So I think making my hat will go down okay. Just got to decide what yarn, what pattern. I might just do something very, very basic, very streamlined, sort of slouchy beanie type thing, nothing fancy. Maybe just a plain single ribbed hat, something like that. Just something that won't be overly fancy and it will be wearable. That's my idea anyway. So yeah, that's my plotting. I'm halfway through another gift which I can't show you because I think there's a possibility they might watch the podcast. But I'll show you photos after Christmas. That's going on at the moment. And I think that's probably it for plotting. I'm kind of in the back of my head. I'm also considering what the next knit along, craft along will be. And I'm kind of inclined towards doing something like cast on Christmas Day, the official start of the non-Christmas knitting season, where you can knit what you want, out of what you want, for whoever you want. It's purely self-indulgent knitting. That's what I think I might do, is start it on Christmas Day and run it for a couple of months, and you can knit whatever you want, just something that makes you feel good, and we'll take it from there. So if you want to start thinking about something self-indulgent that you want to cast on Christmas Day or Boxing Day, whichever takes your fancy, let me know if you've got any particular ideas. We've got a couple of prizes in the pot that can be put towards it, and I might dig out something else from my stash. We'll see how it goes. But that's kind of that. I'm plotting that as well. I'm sort of thinking about what I could craft myself for my self-indulgent one. So let me know if you've got any thoughts about what would be self-indulgent for you. So I guess we're up to Splashed Out. It's all sock yarn. Well, it's all sock weight yarn, I should say. I recently have been knitting with some self-driping sock yarn from Nicole C. Mendez, who is based in Germany. And I really, really like her sock yarn. It's some of my favourite socks are out of her sock yarn. And it's really reasonable. It's very, very well priced yarn. And it's not the softest yarn in the world when you knit with it, but once you've worn it a few times and washed it a few times, it's lovely and soft, but it's robust. And because I was knitting with this yarn, I thought, this is the last skein I've got of self-striping yarn from Nicole, so I'll have to get some more just to have in my stash, so when I want to have an urge to knit with it, I've got it. So this is another one of her self-striping yarns, and it's on a sort of stellina based sock. It's got these like little gold sparkles in it. Do you see it when I move it? The little gold sparkles. And it's 71% superwash wool, 25% polyamide and 5% lurex. So I don't think that sparkle is stellina. I think that's the lurex. But it's, like I say, it is not falling apart smooth and soft. It is nice and tightly plied. It will stand up to some hard wear, and I really like these colours. I think they're really pretty. Sort of a coral colour, a hot pink and a mint green, and I think that will look really pretty when it's knit up, especially with the sparkles. Be nice to knit in the middle of winter. I think it'll cheer me up. So that was one of my first purchases. And because I was on I really like knitting self-striping socks kick, I caved in and got some yarn that I've been eyeing for a while from the Knitting Goddess. And this yarn is rather special, it's rather beautiful. And it's on her Brit sock yarn. Now, recently her Brit sock has changed. They've been struggling to get, I think it's a Blueface Leicester that they used as a big chunk of the base. They've been struggling to get it at the quality they want and the price they want. So they have replaced the Blueface Leicester with British Falkland Polworth. I love my Polworth. You know I love my Polworth. And it's also got 20% British Wensleydale, 20% British alpaca and 20% nylon. And this stuff poofs. It's got real plumpness to it. And I really like the base as it's become. I think it's really squishy as well as soft. And this self-striping is from a range of Terry Pratchett Discworld colourways that the Knitting Goddess dyed. And this is the luggage. And I've not read a Terry Pratchett Discworld novel in many years, but I used to read and reread them as a teenager and I loved them. And I just thought it's a nice thing. And I just really love the colourway. I'm just going for all these soft pink and muted colours these days. Don't know what's become of me. All my saturated zingy colours have gone by the wayside. But I just thought it was really pretty. And I wanted to try the new base and also buy something from the Discworld range. And I really, really like these colours. I think they're very, very pretty. And then I decided to put an order in the Wool Barn. And I really like the yarn from the Wool Barn. It's all very pretty and very well dyed. And I've not caught an update in ages. And I managed to catch one the other week. And I really, really wanted to get a nice neutral yarn. So I spotted this. And isn't that beautiful? It's Silk Sock. And it's in the Gunpowder colourway. And it's 4-ply yarn. It is 50% superwash merino, 50% silk. And it's 400 metres. And look at that sheen. Isn't it gorgeous? So pretty. I love her new logo. She's done a new logo recently. It's really, really sweet. I like it a lot. Here's the old logo. I'll show you the old logo in a minute. But I really like that. I think it's really stylish. It's really nice new logo. But I wanted to get something in a nice neutral colour that I could maybe make another cowl out of. So it'll go with most things. And then because I'll have sort of a browny goldy colour and a pinky colour and a grey colour, and I'll be able to wear it with anything because I've found these really, really wearable, and they're great because they don't fall off your neck when you lean forward, and they just sit nicely. I really like them. So that's probably what I'm planning for with this. But while I was there was a discounted yarn. It was on sale, and it was this, which is the Rustic Sock in the Adria colourway, and that is 80% superwash Blueface Leicester and 20% nylon, and it's 100 grams and it's 365 metres. And it's a really nice high twist yarn and a really nice colourway, and I love Blueface Leicester socks, and that's what this will be. It'll be Blueface Leicester socks, I'm sure of it. Either that or mitts. Because Blueface Leicester is nice and soft, but it's also nice and strong, especially with a nice high twist on it like this. So because that was on sale, I decided to pick that up as well. But then when I got my parcel, it looked a lot bigger than 2 skeins, and in there was an extra 2 skeins of this, and this is alpaca sock in the denim colourway. And it is 70% natural light grey baby alpaca, 20% silk and 10% cashmere, and there's 400 metres of it. And oh my god, this is soft. It's so soft. So pretty. and it's got real depth to it, and the colourway is denim. I think it's more of a grey than a blue. I just love it. And Maya said, very kindly, this is for you to try. You can either keep both skeins, you can give them away. And I just went, I'm going to be really selfish and keep one of the skeins, but the other skein is very appropriate for the craft along I've been thinking about, which is the self-indulgent craft along. So one of these skeins, if you enter the self-indulgent knit along, could be yours. And I have to say, it's gorgeous, so beautiful, and incredibly generous of Maya, because it's not a cheap base, let's put it that way. With the baby alpaca, the silk and the cashmere, it's just so soft and gorgeous. It'd make an amazing little shawl or cowl. It just feels incredible. And yeah, I was kind of tempted to make a cowl out of this rather than the silk sock, but I don't know, trying to decide. But thank you, Maya, very much, and I'm sure the second skein will be gladly received by the winner of the craft along in the new year, because it's gorgeous. I just want to pet it. I just want to stroke it. It's so soft. I think I'm going to call it quits there. I did get some fibre the last few days, but I think what I'm going to do is talk about that in the next episode, because all that yarn sort of, I think that took up enough of your time. You don't want to sit and go, oh my goodness, Chrissy, you spent so much money. Yes, I have. I spent far too much money, and I'm deeply, deeply unashamed. The fibre I got was kind of a reward to myself for actually finishing the pattern. It was like, yay, you've done it at last. All those months been sat looking at it. It was like, reward yourself, have some pretty fibre. So that's what I've done. I've not really got anything for the online community this podcast, except to say it's always lovely to hear from you guys on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on the Ravelry group, in PMs. I love hearing from you. Thank you so much for reaching out. It's a wonderful community that we have, and I'm so grateful for all you guys. So thank you for spending your time with me again, and hopefully in the next episode I'll have something other than Christmas gifts to show off. Hope so anyway. It'd be nice to get back to sort of more kind of interesting knits, because the Christmas gifts tend to be fairly straightforward, quick and easy, just to get them done. And it's not that there's any less love going into it, it's just a time constraint thing. So hopefully once they're all done and I've got some time and space again, I can get back to my spinning, and I can look at the lovely stash I've got and have a look at it and sort of become a bit creative with what I've got and carry on knitting something a little bit more interesting and complicated. So that's my plan anyway. We'll see how it goes. So until I see you again next time, it's lovely spending time with you as always. Keep in touch, take care, don't get too stressed in the run up to Christmas or Thanksgiving. I believe it's Thanksgiving next weekend, so don't get too stressed with all the holiday stuff coming up. That's my advice to you, that I will very rarely take myself, but you know, I'll put it out there. It's a possibility. It's lovely to chat with you, and hopefully I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.